and welcome to another empowering episode of the Girl Emerge podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Hill, and today, guys, we're diving into a deep, very deep, and crucial topic that affects many women on their journey to success, which is identifying the psychological triggers that stem from childhood traumas or life-altering experiences. How many of you can resonate with this topic? I know I definitely can. These hidden triggers, guys, can keep us from living the life of our dreams and achieving the success we deserve as business owners. So this is an important conversation. I need you guys to go and grab a cup of tea or some water, get your notepad and your pen out, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So, we all have a past, and for some of us, that past includes experiences that have shaped us in ways we might not fully understand yet. And I think it's the understanding of why did this happen? Why did this happen to me? Why me? That has gotten a lot of us so stuck and stagnant in our lives to where we spend so much time still to this day trying to figure it out. Childhood traumas, whether they're obvious or even the subtle ones, guys, they can leave lasting imprints on our psyche. Life-altering experiences like significant loss, heartbreak, or even abuse can create psychological triggers that influence our thoughts, our behaviors, and most importantly, our decisions well into adulthood. These triggers can become obstacles that hold us back, especially when we're trying to pursue our dreams and grow as business owners. What exactly are psychological triggers? You might be wondering, why are we going this deep? I'm going this deep, guys, and helping you guys to understand this because I know for a fact that this is something that is definitely holding a lot of us back. And I'm going to say a very big number, 98% of people moving forward in life cannot understand why they're still stuck when whatever has happened to them, it's gone, has no effect on their life. It's not taking them by the hand and leading them astray. Oh, so we think. Okay, so triggers are stimuli, whether they're people, whether they're places, words, or even situations that actually remind us of past traumas or distress. When triggered, we might experience intense emotions, anxiety, self-doubt, even physical symptoms. Now, these reactions can sabotage our success, making us feel stuck or incapable of moving forward. There's a part in actually the very first section in my what used to be called Ignite Day workshop. One of the biggest things I addressed was foundational fear harboring. And it was a term that I coined that when I finally understood what was holding me back in my millions of years in business and even in my personal life, once I found what those things were and I realized how foundational everything was that was holding me back, it helped me so much. And so I had to put that section into that training. That's like the first step. And a lot of people find it extremely difficult. One, they find it difficult to use that in helping themselves to get past things and to be able to become very, very successful seamlessly. A lot of people think that the things that have affected them growing up in their childhood has no effect on them moving forward in life today. But guys, how many of you actually know that the residue from the traumas that you've experienced in your life has a heck of a lot to do with why you are stuck today? Why relationships that you're in aren't working out if you're the problem? Why there are certain behaviors that you continuously allow in relationships? that keep you guys not being able to move forward. Like, there are so many things that the psychological residue of things that have happened to us, they're just like literally sprinkling all over our lives every single day, and we have absolutely no clue whatsoever. There's a very big logic behind understanding what is really hurting you still and what is really holding you back. And until you understand what that is and how it's affecting you and when it's affecting you, you will continue repeating the same cycles in your life, never moving forward and never getting over these humps. And then everything becomes very comfortable to you. So it's very important that you understand, why is it so regular in my mind? It's so regular for me to just be very, very comfortable when I stop, when I don't move forward, when I'm not able to move forward. Why am I comfortable with that? Why am I okay with that? If this is something that I have prayed for, achieving, experiencing for so long, why am I comfortable when it doesn't happen? Guys, psychological triggers. And when it starts to become comfortable, when you don't achieve the result that you seek, that is a very big problem. That is when it has gone much too far. And I try to encourage people all the time to get help. And you may not be able to afford the help. You may not know how to get the help. You may not know where to go, but it's very important that you get the help. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Now, it's very important that we understand what these psychological triggers are, guys. And I'm going to say this part again. Triggers are stimuli, whether they are people, whether they are words, whether they are places that you go to, or just any type of situation that can literally remind you of the past trauma that you've experienced, or any level of distress that you experience. But sometimes, let me get you to understand this part. Sometimes it's not even the trauma itself, it's the result. It's what was expected behind the trauma that gets us. Sometimes in certain situations, it's the, how do you say it? It's the training that someone who was putting us through the trauma and the distress, it's the training, the manipulation that they were trying to get out of us, the response that they were trying to get out of us, that part of it, the residue that we're still holding on to, those are still behaviors of ours, guys. And I need you guys to understand this. This is very big when it comes to understanding why you cannot get past point A. This is why, guys, we have to understand. And a lot of people may look at it as, oh, I don't, it wasn't that serious. It wasn't that bad. Or I've already gotten over that. I've already swept that under the rug. There's nothing I can do to change the past. Oh, but it's something that you need to do to understand the past and how the past is affecting your future and your present. All right. So step one, guys, and I want you to understand these reactions that we've been trained to do or manipulated to do is what is really having us feeling stuck or incapable of moving forward when we desire so heavily to be able to accomplish something in our lives, in our businesses, for our child's life. All right. So the first step is recognizing your triggers. Recognizing your triggers. All right. Let's get into this. The first step in overcoming these barriers is recognizing your triggers. This requires deep, and I mean deep, taking the time deep, doing the work deep, self-reflection and honesty. I put this one as number one, guys, because this is something that a lot of us find very hard to do. We don't have time to reflect. We don't have time to remember. And we do not have time, and we don't have the guts to be honest about what happened to us, how it affects us, and how it is stemming from fear. We're still reliving things to some extent because we're still afraid. A very big part of that also is our fear of how someone else will look at us once they learn the truth about what has happened to us, what we have gone through. A lot of that fear also stems from what their reaction is going to be, because as our abusers will always do to us is to make us stay quiet. And so we also carry that same fear about what our abusers have done to us, sometimes, most times, to our graves. And so a lot of us, as victims of whatever type of abuse, we have such a very big fear of how other people will actually react to what has happened to us, whether they're going to blame us for it, whether they're going to look at us differently. They're not going to receive us the same, because a lot of times victims always have this fear of being tainted. We're now destroyed. We're now ruined. And that same fear of being perceived in that way carries on with us throughout the rest of our lives. So add that as well to your list of fears that we now have to dissect in hopes of getting rid of, so that we can feel normal and people can look at us as normal and accept us again as normal. So on top of all the things that we have to deal with on getting this out of our system, getting the abuse, understanding the abuse, getting rid of it, sweeping it under the rug, dissecting it, throwing it away, doing whatever we have to do in order to be able to process it and move forward, we still have the fear of being accepted. It's something that we've never addressed. So ask yourself, when do I feel most anxious or afraid? I need you guys to write that down. Again, when do I feel most anxious or afraid? Guys, and let me stop right here, because I need you guys to understand the power of a journal. A journal is your talk with God. A journal is your way of being your most vulnerable self, your way of stating all the facts and not being judged for it. Your journal, your talk with God, is your moment to be vulnerable. Take advantage. The way that you will not be judged. Nobody has to know you're keeping a journal. Nobody is needing to read your entries in that journal. It's just between you and God. And this is the most safest place that you can become very honest, very forthcoming, more honest than you've even known that you can be. So ask yourself, when do I feel most anxious or afraid? What situations or people make me doubt myself? That question is extremely critical. Who did it? Who is it? All right. You remember when you were a child and you may have not been able to talk really well, and then the person that protects you the most, whether it was your mother, your big brother, your big sister, or even your little sister or brother, who did it? Point to the person who did it. Remember that? So ask yourself, what situations or what people make me doubt myself? Who did it? Sometimes triggers are linked to specific words or tones, a certain kind of criticism, or feeling left out or ignored. I know that last one, feeling left out or ignored, still bothers me to this day. And when I think about it and I think back on my childhood, I understand why that is one of my triggers. And I do nothing about it. I just become better. I shouldn't say I don't do anything about it, but I just become better. And that's between that. My response to that is between me and God. I don't want to go deep into that. Maybe when I do my workshops and we're in person, I'll go deep into it, but I just become better. All right. So think about some key words. Think about specific words or tones used when people are talking to you that maybe trigger you. Yeah. It may go back to when mom or dad or boyfriend or whoever from your childhood or your younger years, because it really doesn't matter when it started, but definitely younger years, I should say, when they spoke to you in a certain tone, followed by a hand to the face or a hand to your neck choking you. Think about those key words, those specific words. Think about the tones. What type of criticisms followed those physical domestic situations? Or even feeling left out, feeling ignored, feeling like you don't matter. Think about all that, guys, and get very honest with your journal and you and God. So, for example, if you were constantly criticized as a child, you might feel triggered when receiving feedback, even if it's constructive. That was something that I still deal with today. That is absolutely something that I still deal with today. I did not know it was such a big thing for me. I had no clue. I didn't know how to receive positive feedback because for a very long time, I felt like I was the ugly sister. I just had a really nice body. Like, seriously, guys, for real. And I hope my family's not listening to this. But that's what I felt because it was always what I was told, jokingly, but they were serious because when I looked in the mirror, I didn't feel pretty. I did not feel pretty. My hair wasn't the best. My skin, my complexion wasn't the best. It was very dark and rough looking back then because we played outside all day long. And I just got darker and darker. My hair was kind of reddish, auburn color. I just didn't feel the prettiest. But I had a nice body, though. I had a nice body. And even then, because men would look at my body, older men would always look at my body and make comments, I grew up wearing boyish clothes. It wasn't until high school when I kind of broke out of it. And even when I broke out of it, it was very hard for me to feel comfortable in my own skin. I had to fight my way to be where I am now. All right. So think about those specific words, those specific certain kinds of criticism. Okay. Those are linked to your triggers, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to think it was all that serious or not, they are. When the feedback is actually constructive, it's even hard. Like, it's really hard for you to accept it because of those triggers. So I really need you guys to hear me out on that. I remember we were in Vegas, and I still think about this to this day. My sister, who was the pretty one when we were growing up, and I was the fine one because I had the body, the thunder thighs, and the shapely body. She said we were having some sort of conversation, and she said to me, she was like, "No, I always thought you were pretty. I always thought you were pretty." And when she said that to me, guys, I was honestly taken aback, and I thought I'm so sure she thought I was joking. I wasn't. I was really shocked that she said that because it's not what I felt. It wasn't what I believed. And I was at this point in my 30s hearing this conversation go on. So a lot of people don't realize that the smallest thing in their eyes can be humongous for you in your eyes. And so it's very important for you hearing my message today. Be very mindful of how you respond to people, what you give out to people. So step 2, let's go to step 2. Step 2 is understanding. Now, this is the hard part. Understanding the root cause. The root cause. This is where you really have to dissect some things. Once you've identified your triggers, the next step is understanding their root causes. Childhood traumas or significant life experiences often shape how and what we believe about ourselves and the world around us. It's not always just about us. It's about the world that is around us as well, because it takes a village, guys. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love was unconditional, and now you feel like you must be the absolute perfect to be accepted. I see this every day. I see it every day. People are literally really living their lives wholeheartedly, trying to be and present themselves as perfect in order to be accepted, in hopes of being fully accepted, genuinely and authentically accepted. Or even perhaps you've experienced abandonment and now you struggle with trusting others or even delegating tasks in your business. I feel like a lot of people deal with codependency. They don't realize what it is. They don't realize or even know what it feels like to be codependent. But those are the people that are more than likely the ones that experienced abandonment. They have a very strong fear of abandonment. What I really want you guys to think about is when it comes to codependency and the fear of abandonment, think about those, and it may be you as well, but think about the people that always have to have someone around them, whether it's their person or not. They always have a need and a desire to be around other people. They can't function without it. So what tends to happen is you have a lot of people that are codependent. They are the ones that typically stay in toxic situations longer. They're the ones that typically allow the abuse to go on longer because they have a fear of abandonment. Now, issues like that stem very far down the line. It starts very early. It's very often intense, very traumatic, and it has a whole bunch of different legs and points leading to the same place of abuse for the victim. But at the end of the day, they are definitely the ones that typically stay in those toxic cycles, never able to move forward. Moving forward in a business is often very, very hard for them. They can never stick with one thing if certain people aren't a part of it, if certain people aren't around them, if they're no longer attached to certain people or certain types of people. It's very hard for them. It's very triggering for them to move forward because the toxicity is no longer around them. They don't have that person around them. They don't have a certain type of person around them because they've gotten so comfortable to the abuse. They've gotten so comfortable to the toxicity to where functioning in a normal environment outside of the toxicity or the toxic environment is not normal for them. It's very uncomfortable. It's hard for them to cope. It's hard for them to move forward. It's hard for them to activate their businesses and actually execute things that's going to help them to move forward. It's hard for them to propel forward. Very, very difficult for someone who has abandonment issues to function in a healthy environment. And that is very harsh to say, but I have seen it a million times over, and it is very, very true. And that's real, guys. That's real. Today, in this episode number 3, we're getting very real and accepting what we're finding out. It may be you and it may not be. It may be somebody that you know. But if we want to get past it, we're going to have to understand some things. So understanding the root cause, understanding where these feelings come from can be extremely eye-opening, and it can actually help you start to challenge and reframe those beliefs. You can actually literally take these same beliefs that you've grown to accept and you have now been experiencing all your life. You can literally take them and reframe them. Use it differently now. Understanding, and this is where the understanding of the root cause is going to be very beneficial to you. I always encourage therapy or counseling, guys, because it can be incredibly beneficial in this process of understanding the root cause of things, understanding the root cause of your triggers. Working with a professional is like nothing you've ever experienced before because they have the tools to understand and help you heal from these past experiences that still are present in your life today unknowingly and sometimes knowingly. All right. So step 3, reframing negative beliefs. After identifying and understanding your triggers, it's going to be more important to work on reframing the negative the negative beliefs that they've instilled in you. So start by challenging the thoughts that come up when you're triggered. I want you to write underneath your title in your journal, the one that we mentioned, the first question that you're going to ask yourself. All right, start writing this stuff down right underneath there. We want to start really and truly challenging the thoughts that come up when you're triggered. For instance, if your trigger leads you to believe you're not good enough, ask yourself, is this true? Is this true? Am I not good enough? Like literally, guys, ask yourself. Don't feel weird or silly for doing it. Ask yourself, is this true? What evidence do I have that supports or disproves this belief? Okay? Get honest with yourself, guys. We're going into a new season, and I refuse to allow anybody under the sound of my voice, including myself, to go into another season with the same baggage. Okay? Now, one powerful technique is to replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations. I do it all the time. Even with the products at Honey Milk, a lot of them are positive affirmations. These were the same phrases that I used with my son during the car ride every day because he was nonverbal. And I wanted to continue pouring into him. And once I learned the power in positive affirmations, I realized that this stuff really works. And if I can get him to at least say this, I'm going to help him to reaffirm himself. Not only is he speaking this into the universe, he's actually saying it with conviction. It hypes him up. And I believe in the power of energy. So instead of thinking things like, oh, I'll never be successful. Man, I'll just never be successful. This is too hard. Try telling yourself, I am capable and I have the power to create the success I deserve. But guys, it's not just saying it. You have to believe it. You have to see it as if it's already happening. Give gratitude and thanks. Say the affirmations as if it's already here. It's already you're just giving thanks for it because it's already here. I am more than capable. I have the power to create success. I am creating success. I am so happy that the success I am creating right now is what exactly I deserve. It might feel strange at first, honestly, because once I first got started, I was like, oh my God, this is kind of awkward. But over time, this practice can rewire your brain and help you become a more positive, empowering mindset. A more powerful, empowering, positive mindset. All right, so step 4, let's talk about developing coping strategies. Coping strategies. So it's essential to develop coping strategies that can actually manage your triggers when they do arise. Mindfulness and grounding techniques can help you stay present and calm during triggering moments. Breathing exercises, meditation, and journaling are also great tools for processing your emotions and reducing anxiety. One of the biggest things that hold us back when it is time to move forward and take the next step is anxiety. You have to learn how to trust yourself to process the emotions. Once you find out what those triggers are, guys, trust yourself in processing those emotions. It's going to help you to reduce anxiety. You have to know who you are within this whole new system that you're developing. Know your strength, know your power, know that you're good enough. You are more than good enough. And a very big part of this, guys, is building a support system that is equally important. All right? Surround yourself with people who understand your journey and they can actually offer encouragement and perspective when you need it most. Not the ones that say you're silly. Not the ones that's making you feel stupid for being this way or following this path or trying these exercises. That's why I say it's going to be very important that it's between you and your journal first. And once you start to move forward and you're more successful, because you will be, once things start to change, once your trajectory starts to change, the universe is automatically going to bring exactly who you need in your path. Someone you can talk to, a mentor, a friend, a supportive community of fellow women entrepreneurs who share similar experiences. Girl Emerge is one of them. Join our Facebook group. It's called Girl Emerge Tribe. I would love to have you guys over there. Now, guys, remember, identifying and managing psychological triggers is a process. It really is a process. And it takes time. And it takes patience. And most importantly, it takes self-compassion. You have to be compassionate for yourself. You have to forgive yourself for not knowing. You have to forgive yourself for allowing. You have to forgive yourself for enabling. Okay? Write that down. Please write that down. Rewind and write it down. But understand that by doing this type of work for yourself, you're not only freeing yourself from your past, you're also creating the space for growth, for success, and fulfillment in your personal life and your professional life. Guys, if you're struggling with triggers that are holding you back, understand, accept that no, I am not alone in this. I'm not by myself. You're not alone. Know that you are not alone. Many of us, I'm going to say, hell, all of us are on this journey together. And it's okay to seek help and take the time you need to heal. So before we wrap up, let's talk about developing coping strategies in detail. Let's go a little bit deep. I want to encourage you guys to take some time this week to reflect on what we've discussed. All right? The episode today. Let's take some time to reflect on it. Because I do not want you guys to go into a space where it becomes too hard. It becomes a little bit too uncomfortable. Give yourself the time, give yourself the space in order to do this. Take your time and do it, right? Start journaling about your triggers. Explore their roots. And I need you guys to think about the steps you can take to manage them. Healing is a journey, and every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. So understand this when it comes to developing coping strategies, okay? I need you guys to understand that your abuser, I don't know what the level is, but your abuser sleeps well at night. If they're still here on this earth, I'm pretty sure they sleep well at night. They do, and it's okay. The absolute best, the most genuinely, intricately, perfect, genius revenge is becoming better, becoming everything that they tried to keep you from, becoming everything they said out of their own mouths that you could not be. Become better. Walk in forgiveness. Walk in forgiveness. Please strut in forgiveness and watch what happens. Forgive them, guys. Forgive them. They know not what they do. We'll leave it at that. They know not what they do. They didn't know. They didn't realize. Forgive them. Guys, journaling about your triggers is going to be very important, even before you start to talk to someone else about it. Explore the roots of them. I can't stress enough how important it is. When you develop the coping strategies, you have to use them every time until you perfect it, until you master it, until you annihilate it, so that you can move forward until it's just like walking in the park. It's nothing to you anymore. You understand it. You know how to manage it until it disappears, because a lot of us are still dealing with it and it's keeping us stuck. Every time we go to make a move, every time we want to move forward with something, we're stuck because we don't know why. Let's look back into your childhood, okay? Guys, I thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Girl Emerge podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, I need you to share it with someone who might benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so more women can find and join our community. Until next time, remember you have the power to overcome your past and create the life and business of your dreams. Keep emerging, keep growing, and please keep shining. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.